Alright, so I'm going to be talking about the saddest moments of Dragon Quest VII. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Dharma region. I'm going to be using the PlayStation 1 names and stuff like that because that's what I'm most familiar with. So, when the characters first end up in Dharma, they meet a fake high priest. And they talk to him, they try to change their job class. And he says, you first have to end up in the waters behind me and cleanse yourself. And so they do. But they were tricked. And so what ends up happening is their powers get taken from them. And they end up in Penal Town. So, once our heroes end up in Penal Town, they talk to everyone in the village, and they eventually discover these three monsters. These monsters try to give the entire village the Soul Sword. The Soul Sword is a sword which, if you slash 5 people with it, it'll steal their soul, and the monsters give you the chance to try to win your powers back. But the leader of the town's name is Suifu. He's also a big bully. He challenges our 3 heroes to a fight, and he destroys them utterly. And you lose, and you end up waking up in Neris's house. And now the characters wake up, and they realize that Neris has been taking care of them. And she says that, you can stay as long as you want. Until, all of a sudden, her brother, Zadji, comes in. And Zadji, he says, look, I don't want you taking care of these people. I don't like people in our house. And in all honesty, I think that Neris and Zadji, well, really, Zadji, I think, has a thing for his sister. Have you ever seen Scarface? I'm pretty sure he's a lot like Tony Montana. And he has the hots for his sister. Because he's real weird about her. Because in about 5 seconds, Kasim comes in. And Kasim gives Neris something. But Zadji doesn't like it. And he gets mad at him and starts yelling at Kasim just for giving Neris a present. Because I'm telling you, he is weird about Neris. So, all the characters go outside. And you see Kasim talking things over with Flower. And they're discussing how to rescue High Priest Foss. And Flower decides to go with you. Flower gives you this thing called the Wand Rock, which is going to heal your characters. It's a pretty good healing item. And then you all head to the cave. And now you head to the cave with Flower and your team. And they head to the cave where the monsters reside. And the monsters are being powered up and are invincible. They cannot be defeated, and they are the protectors of the cave. And Flower knows this. Flower completely abandons the team, leaving them to be attacked. And they end up in a fight, and they lose. Because again, the monster's invincible. And you end up in Neris's house once more. So, you get healed by Neris one more time. But you hear a scream come from outside. And when you walk outside, you see the pink soldier guy that you saw earlier. Only this time, he has the Soul Sword. Which, as you remember, if the Soul Sword hits you, it'll take your soul away. And Zadji is walking around. And of course, the pink soldier guy, he takes his soul away. And so, the monsters come and they tell the pink soldier guy, hey, the last soul you hit was not good enough. You need to finish the job. But Suifu is not going to stand for that. And so Suifu and him get into a fight. and it's an even match. So, the monsters decide, to hell with it, close enough, they take him away. And so now, the heroes group and the group that is Kasim, Flower, and Neris all decide to go back to the cave where the monsters had defeated them earlier. Only this time, the monsters are not there. Our heroes come out of the cave, and they arrive in a new town. This town has Foss's guards, and it also has humans. These humans have had their souls taken away, and they are willing to kill the guards. They're willing to do anything because they are being controlled by the monsters. So it's up to our heroes to go and find a way to rescue Foss, which will break the spell. So your characters are walking around and they overhear Flower and Kasim. And Flower mentions that he's sorry for having to backstab our heroes, but he did it because he wanted to be one of the guards for Foss. Kasim said there's no time for this now. They have to move on and find Foss. And so, all of them decide to join together. But Neris mentions something. She says that she hasn't seen Zadji anywhere, despite the fact that this is the village where everyone who's had their soul taken away is. And so, the 5 characters all head into the labyrinth. Okay, so then you and your characters are heading through the labyrinth, and you eventually discover High Priest Foss's room. After solving a quick puzzle, you rescue High Priest Foss. And then you all decide to leave, and you end up discovering Enop and Gons again. But this time, High Priest Foss uses her magic and turns them into normal monsters. No longer invincible, you and the crew all fight them, and they're an easy fight. So you head back to town with High Priest Foss. And so then they discover that Zadji and Neris have been reunited. High Priest Foss decides to stay behind, but all the rest of the characters decide it's now time to head back to the cave so they can save Dharma. And now it's revealed that Neris was actually a monster in disguise. And Zadji has the soul sword. And so, Kasim takes the soul sword away from Zadji and stabs him with it, which gives him his soul back, and the heroes fight the ugly blue monster and defeat it. And now Kasim and Flower carry off Zadji's body ahead of you, and you decide that you're going to go after them on your own. And so you're traveling, and you end up in a room, and you hear Foss's voice, and she tells you that you have your powers back. And so you continue going along until you end up in an arena. And you discover that Neris is there, and she's been working with monsters. Only Neris is also using the soul sword. So it's up to you and Zadji to stop her. And so you team up with Zadji, and you enter the arena. And eventually you get off into a battle against Neris. After the battle, Zadji takes the soul sword and stabs Neris, and it knocks her out. And the heroes and Zadji are now called the winners, and so they're taken off. But Zadji tells Kasim to take Neris' body, and the heroes all head off. And so now you join up with Foss, and you go to where the High Priest is. Only the High Priest reveals that he was not the High Priest, but was instead Antoria. And now you and High Priest Foss fight against Antoria, and it's an epic battle, and you need Foss's magic to help you. But you eventually win, and you save the day. You're victorious. So, you see Flower and Kasim talking, and Kasim tells Flower, you could finally be one of the High Priest's guards if you'd like. But Flower declines, says, this is not for me, and he leaves. And so now, you head off to a different room and you see Neris and Zadji, and they're having a conversation. Zadji tells Neris that he's become a warrior, and he's showing off to her, saying, look how great I am. I could now protect you. But Neris is saying, no, I don't want your protection, and I don't need your protection. I have Kasim. And so, Zadji decides that it's time to leave as well. And these two never seemingly make up. That's the final part of Dharma. But if you head back to Penal Town, you can talk to Suifu. And Penal Town is now completely evacuated. There's no one left except him and his sad self, who can only live in a memory of when he used to be the best.